Okay. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our February Lunch and Learn for Missouri Community Betterment on this snowy day. Um, we are going to get started here, and then we will post this to our um, Facebook and our YouTube and everything after the fact. But we are going to get started. Our Missouri Community Betterment Board consists of our president, Brett Dinkins, out of St. Louis, our vice president, John Robinson, out of Caledonia, our secretary, Jeff Corman from Jefferson City, Elaine Campbell from Houston, Jennifer Whitson in Steelville, Diana Huckstep in Louisiana, Emily Smith in Steelville, and myself, Elizabeth Anderson in Jefferson City. And we are supported through the work of volunteers, including Cece Spink, Darla Haig, and Vicki Jones. Our guest speaker today is Mark Christian from the Small Business Development Center out of University of Missouri. And I am going to turn the time over to you, Mark, and let me make you a co-host and stop my share so that you can share anything that you would like to. And we will hear from Mark.
Can you guys see my screen okay?
Yeah. Yep.
Great.
There you go.
Excellent. All right. So I try to keep this simple. And so hopefully we can have some more questions. If we have enough time, I have a PDF, which I wasn't smart enough to figure out how to incorporate in my PowerPoint that I usually handle out to just kind of show you an example of our outcomes. But I'll give you an overview. My name is Mark Christian. I'm the director of the Small Business Development Center here at the University of Missouri. I've been in this role for over 6 years. Previous to coming to Columbia, I was the center director at the Southeast Missouri Small Business Development Center. After several years in the corporate world, and they asked me in 2016 to come to Mizzou and work with the Mizzou office. Here at the University of Missouri, we have through myself, two full-time counselors, and then we also have a joint agreement with the Callaway Chamber of Commerce or Chamber Foundation. I always get confused on that, but we have an agreement there where we have a shared position so we were able to offer services out of the Fulton area and to Callaway County. The Today I was hoping to cover kind of what the SBDC does, and I'm hoping you'll have questions. And then we will talk about funding sources with the SBA, Small Business Innovation Research Grants. I usually like to address that because many people outside of the university setting, even people within the university setting, are familiar with the innovation research grants. We'll talk. I'm sorry, I did remove government contracting today, since I was just going to address SBDC. We will talk about the tools that we use, and we'll talk about the outcome. Most of the people that we work with, we are helping them with developing business plans or projections. And so I was going to just share that, an example of what a business plan would look like coming from our office, or for the most part, any SBDC throughout the state of Missouri. So the SBDC, in general, we offer business services to any for-profit in the state of Missouri, up to 500 employees. There are some other rules around that, but in general, as long as a business entity has less than 500 employees, they fall within our purview to provide assistance. We are funded in part through the Small Business Administration, along with the University of Missouri Extension, to offer services throughout the state. We also have a number of cooperative agreements with other educational institutions to offer small business development services throughout the state of Missouri. And our scope is pretty much anything business related. And so it could be from marketing to assistance with QuickBooks, to international trade, government contracting. But we primarily, at least here at Mizzou, we primarily focus on access to capital. And the reason is because that is one of the barriers for many people to start or grow their business. We have locations throughout the state, as you can see, as indicated on the map. Uh, the the numbered locations are our primary locations. The dots are our sub centers. And so pretty much every part of the state should have access to a small business development center. If you if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me, and I'm more than happy to route someone to the appropriate resource. What we do in general, it's all one-on-one counseling is our primary tool. We do business workshops, but our primary job is to do one-on-one confidential coaching and advising, and then leverage the resources that the university has and all the smart smart people that the university has and resources and databases to assist small business owners. I like to think of what we try to do is level the playing field between a small business owner and large corporations, right? By providing the resources of the university to help them grow, take the next step, or to even decide, hey, this isn't a good idea, you know, right now. Again, one of the primary things we concentrate, of course, is funding. And we do that through preparing them. Lenders look at typically what the 5 Cs of credit, which many of you may be familiar with. And we concentrate on that capital piece, not that, we want to make sure that they have everything else in line, but knowing that capital tends to be the barrier for a lot of people taking that next step or taking that risk, we try to mitigate that. Tools the SBA has to assist people, the 7A is their catch-all lending. So if someone goes to a typical lender and they can't get financing, they they may qualify for a 7A. Then the primary program that I really think is a standout in the lending market is the 504. The 504 can offer up to a 25 to 30-year term on a long-term asset. And if you're looking for a commercial loan, which is typically at a 10-year term, that could be a game changer, right? And then they also offer a 504 refinance. So if you have a 504, and then after say 2, 3, or 4, 5 years of paying on that loan, then you can potentially do a refinance and put all the debt in that business or part of that debt in the business over a 20 or 25-year term, right? Which really improves the cash flow of the business. So we work a lot to see if we can get people into those programs if they qualify and if it makes sense for them. Uh, the economic injury disaster loans, which many people became familiar with during COVID, is still a program and a program they've offered for years during, tornadoes and flooding and things like that. Um, is a uh, potential, revenue stream or loan people can get during a national disaster, or if the area is declared a disaster by the governor. Um, the SBIR STTR program is a program that not many people have heard of that is an actual grant funding tool. And I was going to discuss that a little bit because so many of the groups I've spoken with are not familiar with that.
What
And
does
so
that
it's
acronym stand for?
and that's what it's the SBIR is Small Business Innovation Research. STTR, Small Business
Oh,
Technology Transfer. So usually if you're a small business owner out in the community and you have some kind of intellectual property or you're trying to explore an idea, but you own the rights for the intellectual property, or you could have a patent on it. You may not have a patent, and new technology and so forth. Patents sometimes don't make sense because they take so long to get. but typically they want to see some kind of innovation, and that innovation needs to be different and create some kind of market change, right? It needs to, if it's a small business innovation, it will need to have a say a 400 times effect to actually be viable as far as speeding up time, reducing costs, or so forth. At a corporate level, a lot of time it's more incremental innovations that they're looking at, where a 1 or 2 or 3% would be considered substantial. But it's really, we're looking at the market, and do you have an idea that could be a game changer? And if so, then it could be a potential to get funding or to explore if it's a viable option. The companies that you may have heard of that have benefited from this program, are some big names, and these are all out there in the public. So, but these are all companies that began with an SBIR at some point. So the difference between the two programs, typically an SBIR is more viable for a existing business, whereas an STTR is where you're leveraging research typically developed at an educational institution or other nonprofit research institution partner. And then you are taking their research and trying to build a business on it. The advantage to that is businesses that build on institutional research have a much greater success rate. Okay? These are the agencies that support the SBIR's TTR program. And then this kind of gives you an idea how much money we're talking about, right? 4.28 billion, or that's, or was. I'm not sure what the current number is, or with all the changes going on, where we're going to end up there. But obviously, the DoD, as being the largest bucket within the federal government, uh, is also one of the largest spending. Of course, there's a great, part of the reason for this program is to make sure that we have a strong supply chain, a diversified supply chain within the United States to supply the Department of Defense and our industrial complex, right? And that's really key for the United States to stay strong and an industry leader. So how does the process work? The phase one, you get somewhere between 50 to 275,000 to develop a prototype. It's proof of concept. Phase two, okay, you have you explored and it looks like you can develop a prototype. So in phase two, you apply to that and you can get more funding to actually make your idea a reality, right? You come up with a prototype. And then in phase three, you take it to market. Right. So so it's really a funding source to develop things that the government may want and need, and also keeps the United States innovative. And why do this program? Outside of the funding, it fills a gap between new startup capital to build a prototype, right? Anywhere from 50 to $275,000. It helps validate the technology, and technology that has went through a rigorous process tends to be more viable. And as I mentioned earlier, businesses that have that are based on innovation through educational institutes, right, that have that strong research foundation, have a much greater success rate. And when I say much greater, up to like 30% versus your typical startup or business that's not validated through a university research process. Um, and of course, by getting this kind of funding, you're much more likely to have other people invest in it or be interested in investing in it because it is validated. And the goal is that the federal government will be one of your first clients That's why they fund it, is because they have a need within the government. Um, and who qualifies? Well, you have to be a U.S. citizen, you or a U.S. owned company. You have to be for profit, and you have to be a small business. And so those are some of the general requirements. The proposal we've submitted here, we're seeing about a 16% success rate. I think our success rate out of the Mizzou Center is somewhere closer to 20 to 30. Uh, that is probably 25 to 30, but a lot of it is iteration. They may not get the first one, but they go back and they reapply. Once you get a phase one, you're much more likely to get a phase two. And you have any questions about that? I just wanted to do a brief overview as more of an introduction that we don't do a lot of grant funding out of my office or within the SBDC in general, but this is a program for people that, they have ideas, they have concepts, and they just may need some additional funding. And for existing businesses, say your small manufacturers that have some patents and things, and they just aren't able to do the R&D. R&D eats up a lot of funding, right? This may be a viable option for them.
Did your business pick up a lot during the pandemic?
Oh, we were swamped. And we thought there would be a sharp decline after, but no, once people are like, oh, you can help me do this, you can supply research and yeah, no, we haven't seen quite the decline we thought we would.
Well, that's
Um,
good.
yeah, no, it is. Now we've seen a lot more acquisitions and people selling out after the pandemic. It's been a lot, and it still is. We're seeing a lot more acquisitions, and part of that has to do with our generational change that's going on, right? As boomers and so forth leave the workforce, but we're seeing a lot more acquisitions, sellouts, and so forth than we've seen in the past. The positive is that means historically, a lot of times people just let the business go, or they don't plan for an exit. And now we're seeing a lot more people are aware of the need to do that. And so I think that's a real positive.
Mark, would it be possible for you to go back to the slide again real quick with the map of where all the different SBDC
Oh yeah, sure.
locations are around the state?
Yeah, sure. So they're pretty much in all the major markets. Uh, St. Joe, Hannibal. Oh, I'm sorry, we do have an office in Hannibal, and it's not on this map. I must have grabbed the wrong one or the wrong slide I had prepared. Uh, but we have Springfield, West Plains, Cape Girardeau, uh, Columbia, and Fulton, and then Kirksville. Moberly, we are there part-time, but we're not there full-time currently. We're there 1 or 2 days, I think right now, a couple days a month. We had an office there, but we no longer have a full-time office. Let's see, just kind of going through the map. In St. Louis, St. Charles, and uh, and then of course I think Kirkwood, and I'm not sure what, and then we have a partnership with the St. Louis partnership in the St. Louis area. I can't keep up with all the things St. Louis is doing. I can't keep up with, but we have several offices there, and then the same thing with Kansas City. They have a great group in Kansas City, and then Springfield with Missouri State, and then their offshoot office in West Plains. So,
Okay.
and then
So
we
then, so on this slide, just for example, like when we are able to put this up on YouTube afterwards, like this has the contact information for folks all over the state. but just in case, they could also just go to the website or get a hold of the lead center in Columbia and be referred to whoever's local to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is not accurate. I didn't realize it was that outdated. There's several partnerships that we don't have or locations that may not be accurate here. We have an office in Joplin, and we also have an office in Sedalia. The So I think all the major ones are the same. We really don't have changeovers and partners very often. We do have a new office in Farmington
Mm,
that is new that's not indicated on here. Uh, but And of course Rolla. That's the one I was forgetting.
mhm,
All the University of Missouri system schools have SBDC offices, and of course, so. But yeah, no, it's if you want to contact the lead center is actually the state office, or you can contact my office. And my suggestion, well, we can kind of go back to where we're at. What I'd like to do is kind of go through the tools real quick that we use. And if we have time, I could show you an example of an output uh, and to and then it has all my information if that would be okay. So some of the tools we use, Vertical IQ, which we pull industry profiles, a lot of industry trends and so forth. BizMiner gives us financial SWOT and benchmarks. It's a tool that a lot of CPAs and some lenders use. Uh, Business Analyst Online, Esri is a wonderful tool. It can be scary with what kind of data is out there, but it is amazing at drilling down when you're looking at different markets and neighborhoods and so forth, or counties, and trying to determine, where's a good location for your business and who lives where and what are their interests, what are their media consumption habits, all kinds of things. Beef consumption, pork consumption, soybean consumption. I mean, it's amazing the kind of data out there. Business reference guide, many libraries have that. It's a very good tool. D&B Hoovers provides basically your credit score for your business. That is, if you're an existing business owner, if you don't know your DMB, I would suggest that you become familiar with that. Growth Wheel is a tool that we used for strategic assessment and also provides us with resources to assist with areas such as maybe HR or other areas that you may not be comfortable with as a counselor, or maybe you don't have a deep knowledge of, but it provides you with information and tools to help guide that client, through that. And we'll look at that here in a second. So, as an example, which Missouri county has the highest average household spending on rice? Anyone?
mm,
That's okay. All right. So that would be Platte County and at 42.27 annually. So we would pull that kind of information out of our Esri database. Or maybe one of the industry profiles. Conventional wisdom holds that people drink more wine during a recession, but drink cheaper wine and drink more at home. True or false? The smaller
True.
group. True. It is true, right? And that would be vertical IQ. We could pull that kind of information out of vertical IQ. Um, Financial benchmarks. What is the average cost of goods sold for machine shops in Missouri? That's just a guess. So it would be about 64%. And when you look at these numbers, these percents are a percent of revenue, and they're based on tax returns and other data, and then they're taken together to determine as a percent of revenue. And we can use this as a tool to determine how a company's operating, right? So it's a great benchmark tool.
About that?
So community profiles, how many millennials are there in Cape Girardeau County? And and so that might be, another question that we need to ask for a marketing campaign, and we can pull that from MC. And so there's, over 14,000 millennials within that county. So exporting data, how much wine did the US export directly to Denmark in 2019? And we could find out that it was over $40 million just to the little country of Denmark from the US.
Wow.
So business plans, how many years should a financial forecast include? Uh, it's typically 3 years, 2 years, and month-to-month financials, and then we build that in a tool called LivePlan. Strategic focus. What should you focus on in your next in your business? We use a tool called Growth Wheel, and it basically breaks down all the different areas a business owner has to deal with into different segments. And this is a tool, it helps give us focus. Hey, we were operating really well here. We're operating really well here, but I really feel like I need to work on my customer portfolio or my revenue model or whatever it is. And so it gives us a system and a process to help a client work through these issues. Um, it's a really neat tool, and that's where several SBDC counselors throughout the state are certified to use GrowthWell. And the outcome, typically we assist people a lot with doing projections and building business plans. And this is just a example plan that I put together. I was working on how to get all my PDF files into the and the PowerPoint, and I couldn't quite get it right. If I just PDF'd everything, then I lost my functionality in my slides. I couldn't get the pop-ups. But this is just kind of example plan that we build. It tends to have more visual elements and things of that. It includes a business plan, the financial plan and projections and so forth. Uh, it's but that's all built in a online service called LivePlan that I mentioned earlier, and it allows you to build a business plan through any web browser, and it's something that any SBDC office can offer. And what's nice as a counselor is I can log in and check and add comments or update or edit or whatever that client would like me to do without the client actually coming into the office. So it really helps with our rural outreach. Or when you get snowed in, right? And you still need to meet with the client and they need to go to the bank that week. And we're trying to help them get through that, get the business plan completed. And so it's a wonderful tool. And our only goal is for the business owner to be successful. That, whether it's to start a business, grow a business, buy a business, expand, or even decide that, hey, this is the right time for me, right? I need to I need to concentrate on something else. And maybe I'll take the step in 6 months or a year. Or maybe I will, this is a bad idea and I need to come up with something else. So, but our goal is just to help the client make the right decision for them, whether that's, to go after a loan or to make a new investment or not. Any questions?
Not that I can think of right now.
Yeah, I don't have any questions, but I thought that those tools that you brought up were really, really cool. I'm not an entrepreneur. I don't have my own business, but I feel like having those kinds of tools and knowing that those are the kinds of tools that you guys are working with. If I ever had, the urge to do that or was in the position to do that, that helps me to kind of, I don't know, think through in my head like, oh, okay, you know, this is how we would go
No,
about
right. What I found is that it helps give people more confidence,
that.
because we're looking at what other people have done, right? Or in the market. I can pull like what every restaurant in Colombia, what the revenue is, how they're staffed, how many square foot. I can pull all kinds of information on that business, and I can tell you exactly, you know, how much revenue they're generating, that kind of thing, and then how they're staffed, and so we can look at benchmark data and break that information down. So when we build a business plan, or they're thinking, hey, I'm going to make 10 million and I'm only going to have 5 people, well, that's not realistic, right? Um, and so we're able to really give them good information that's almost real time. It's only maybe a year or two difference. Um, and then also pull all kinds of data on where that industry is projected to go and so forth. So
Hey, Mark, is there some place where I can see that 360-degree screening wheel a little better? It's kind of hard to read.
yeah, it's I don't know if I have anything off. Let's see. Yeah, I mean it just breaks down all the I think you can go to the Growthwell website actually
Okay.
and look at it. But I mean it's all the different segments within a business. I mean it's if you have a question, we just got to figure out where it falls.
Okay.
If this is a tool, this is more like a long-term tool with the client as you're working through a series of problem and they're coming in every week, every month, every couple of weeks, whatever their schedule is, and you're trying to build what I found is most of the time people come in with one or two problems, whether they want financing or growth or whatever it is. And then you deal with that problem and they move on. Now you do have those other folks that want to keep growing, want to keep improving, and they're always identifying. And those are the regular clients. And this is a really good tool for that, right? As we say, okay, what do we want to work on? We want to make sure that you're going in the right direction. And so it gives us different areas to focus on and work through. And then once you work through all the areas on the wheel, you go back and you start over and you do it again. Um,
All right. Well,
So you
like I
guys,
said, oh, sorry, go ahead.
oh, that's okay. I was just going to say, so you guys help people with all of this as far as getting loans and all that kind of thing. Is there a
right.
charge for your service?
No, it's all no cost. So, and I say no cost rather than free because what they do is they share their success with us, right? That if they get the loan, they grow their business, they share that information, and then we report that out in an aggregate form. So it's never like this business did this. It's Mark helped a business in Cole County or Callaway County or Boone County or whatever it is to do this. And
Okay,
it's all reported in an aggregate form. It's
gotcha,
never you know, it's never business name associated or anything like that. It's
gotcha,
yeah, we have a secure database. Um, everything we do is confidential with our goal just to assist that business owner with whatever issue. And so some people are like, well, can you tell me who you helped? Well, I can't tell you who I've helped. I can't share that data with you unless I get a press release from them or a media release from them. Uh, I can share some story, but I can never share, real detail or anything. It's all confidential. It's all no cost. The client is just asked to share their information for 3 years.
gotcha. That makes sense.
Yeah. And hopefully, during that time, we're helping them and we continue to help them grow with whatever issues they have. So,
Well, I enjoyed your presentation very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Vicky. Appreciate it.
Like I said, we're gonna upload this to our YouTube to share it out with other folks and put it out on our social media and everything. Thank you so much, Mark, for being willing to share with us about SBDC's services and um, kind of your all's process on how you help folks with their business goals and growth and all of those things. I think that that's really really helpful and something that could help a lot of people across the state who interact with Missouri Community Betterment. I'm going to go ahead and put up our last couple slides from MCB. This is how to get a hold of the Missouri Community Betterment Board. We have a website with a contact us button to email and a phone number. We also have our YouTube, a Facebook account, and Twitter. You can reach us on all of those. There's also the MCB Better Together Fund, which helps MCB function and be sustainable for the future and provide education in our annual conference. And having with different resources throughout the state again. And also we welcome if anybody knows of any resources that they think would be something that would be worthwhile and that we want to share with people across the state. You can reach out to Missouri Community Betterment and we can get that added to our lunch and learn schedule. And just thanks again so much to Mark for being willing to share with us today about SBDC.
Thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
All right.